Hello and welcome to episode 168 of our SAP on Azure video podcast. Today is November 16th, and together with Robert and Goran, we're here to talk about anything related to SAP and Microsoft. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
So this week we will pause on focusing on one specific topic, but instead do a recap of some of the events that happened in the last few weeks. So we had SAP Teched. We had asug Tech Connect, we had GitHub Universe, we had OpenAI DevDay, and now, while we are recording this, actually, we have Microsoft Ignite. So instead of going deep in one specific topic, we thought about, well, let's take a look at some of the events. Let's just browse and discuss on some of the topics that we've seen, and then let's see what happens. So let me actually share my screen again. We have prepared a few blog posts. We have prepared a few links, and I think one nice picture that was released over LinkedIn, or I guess also in other social medias, was this summary of SAP Teched basically.
And you were there, Holger,
I was there. Yes, I was lucky enough to go to Bangalore.
Yeah.
It was really interesting. I mean, it was for me. It was coming back to a lot of old SAP colleagues, a lot of old SAP friends that I had visited before. I mean, before joining Microsoft, I had some teams that I was working with in Bangalore, so I was much more often in Bangalore. But then since joining Microsoft, I never went to Bangalore, so this was like a coming home or coming back, so it was really nice. And then here at Teched, I mean, that was also an interesting experience. I think it's nice. So Joule is the foundation for everything at SAP. I think that was also very clear in the keynote. Joule is everywhere. The generative AI hub, where SAP is going to expose different large language models. So Azure, OpenAI. Let me actually see if I can zoom. I can zoom in here. So that's probably better.
To me, it seems, Holger, that basically Microsoft, for example, there are so many trends like AI, right? And I have to say, sorry, everybody, Microsoft started the trend, and push something now. Basically, everybody's jumping on, which makes sense. Basically, and use it. We had also last week a guest from SAP.
Yeah.
Talking about also supporting the development there in different scenario. But it does make sense that many of the company, Microsoft and SAP, of course, are jumping on. I mean, or Microsoft also engage or initiate somehow and show it. Look, it works, right?
No, I agree. And I also think so. I think Microsoft is definitely a thought leader there as well in this area. I mean, I think this collaboration that Satya and Amy Hood and the whole leadership team did with OpenAI was just brilliant. And we will talk about the OpenAI DevDay in a second as well. So I think they are also very, very clear at the forefront right there at the moment. And obviously then with the Microsoft collaboration, there's a lot of things happening. And that's what you see, for example, when SAP talks about the generative AI hub, they definitely talk about Azure OpenAI as I think a very important piece of SAP's AI strategy. Yes, they're also working with others. Falcon, I think this is an open source, Llama 2 from Meta, Aleph Alpha. But actually, I think if you also look at Microsoft, if you look at the Azure OpenAI Playground, there you can also see that we are working with other large language models. And I think there's this partnership between Microsoft and Meta, for example, around Llama 2.
Exactly,
really running other large language models on Azure. And I think we will see more and more of these scenarios. So again, one thing where I think Microsoft has clearly an edge right now is when you look at the infrastructure. I mean, these large language models, they need to run somewhere, which means you need GPUs. And I think, again, a brilliant move from Microsoft. We are investing like crazy in building out our GPUs, basically.
Yes.
So I think right now this combination of SAP and Microsoft really can also be a win-win situation where SAP is building this I think they call it the enterprise AI or the business here, SAP Business AI. And the foundation, I would say, in a lot of cases, is or can be Azure OpenAI. So yeah, AI is being infused in all the different SAP products, but I think it's clear that there is also a very strong collaboration between SAP and Microsoft in this area.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I see here also, I mean, your topic was super important of the integration as well. So everybody is investing, SAP is investing. We are also investing in generic content and also with the SAP, because again, you need to easily surpass a different technology stacks.
Yeah.
In an easy way, in an easy technical way, and be secure and all side. And this is also great to see from SAP that they are also seeing the same way, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Again, for me, a perfect fit actually for a great collaboration. And
exactly.
I mean, when we go beyond all the AI stuff, and for example, look at SAP Build Process Automation, what I really enjoyed was SAP demoed at Teched a scenario where SAP Build Process Automation can connect to Power Platform, to Power Automate.
For example, yeah.
And we had a lot of discussions. I mean, obviously, I was not allowed to talk about this yet, but now that SAP has shown this, we have a lot of customers that are big Power Platform customers, but they are also customers of SAP Build. So they use multiple low-code tools. So why not bring this together? Why not integrate SAP Build Process Automation with Power Automate? And that's what the SAP team now showed for the first time at Teched. They had a nice presentation where they talked about this, but they even had a demo where you could really see how the business automation on the SAP side, or the enterprise automation here, that's what they call it, the enterprise automation, could be then connected with the productivity tools automation on the Power Platform side. So that was also really nice to see.
Yeah, and basically all these stuff are powered by the BTP. We see in the middle.
Correct.
Business technology platform, which also runs on the Azure. I mean, of course,
good point.
customers
Yes.
who choose it, they would know it because they choose the Azure, but actually behind is also the Azure, right?
Yeah.
Powering these kind of cloud services from the SAP itself, right?
Yeah. And I mean, obviously, we are a little biased when it comes to this, but for me, it is the perfect combination. I mean, we work with SAP on the infrastructure layer. We work with SAP on the AI layer. We work with SAP now also here on integration and low code, even in data management. I mean, DataSphere is great, but in combination, a lot of customers are using Power BI for visualization. A lot of customers are using an Azure Data Lake. So why not again combine these two things? So I think that's where really holistically, when you look at SAP and Microsoft and also compare this with other competitors, I think there's just a perfect match throughout the whole stack between SAP and Microsoft.
Right.
So yeah, I think it was a really nice Teched. There are some highlights. We don't need to go over them. Here, Edge Integration Cell was another really nice announcement from SAP, where especially for customers that are maybe running PIPO currently on-prem, and obviously these customers should also migrate to SAP Integration Suite at some point in time, but maybe they have some on-premise requirements. Now with this Edge Integration Cell, which by the way can also run on Azure, you have this integration component that is now can really sit next to your SAP system, for example, or potentially obviously can also run on premise and stuff like that. So I think this was also really nice integration. Yeah, the HANA Cloud Vector capabilities that are introduced that will come in Q1, which obviously is a big topic when it comes to AI. Yeah, the generative AI hub. So we don't need to go in all the details, but I think it was great to see a lot of very, very interesting announcements coming from SAP. I think we briefly also touched on this one, Goran, last week.
So basically Hiren Shah, our main PM lead, was dedicated put a lot of announcement for specifically this SAP Teched, right? And around the SAP and Azure part. And we mentioned last time just quickly, but didn't went into detail. I mean, there's a lot of announcement, a lot of part. A big, I would say, the MV3s,
Yes.
definitely the new virtual machines, you know, the new generation, basically. Actually, I think they would go from lower kind of a small RAM up to the even 32
Yes.
terabyte of the RAM. Currently, I think what I see, it's medium memory. It's a kind of reached the GA, not the high memory yet, but it will come. It's a totally new technology, right? Which means it's a much more scalable for the HANA. I mean, the test we see MV3 compared to the MV2. The HANA for the data load time for the OLAP basically gives up to 30%. It's faster. And also for the OLTP, it's about 50% faster. You know, we also use the newest Azure Boost technology, which kind of offloads the hypervisor work in handling the networking and the storage, for example, to the dedicated hardware. And all this kind of actually offers much higher storage IOPS and throughput, and also networking throughput as well, IOPS and throughput as well, which is always kind of needed from time to time, and definitely gives a customer much more flexibility. And one even very important part is improve the security and improve the stability as well of the whole environment. It's much more resilient. Cool. That resilience is, of course, there, but it's just, I mean, for SAP customer, it's kind of no-brainer. The more you have, the better, you know. So definitely, everybody are kind of advised to think about using the MV3 or even migrating to the MV3. I think prerequisite is this a Gen 2 image. Okay. From the other stuff, because we are also working on the SAP cloud services and products, you know, like Azure Center for SAP solution.
Yeah.
If you would scroll a little bit there, announce, for example, customer can use it to deploy new S/4HANA system. So also coming the S/4HANA 2023, right? In an easy way from simple to HA environment, right? And that would definitely help in the S/4HANA migration projects. One of the stuff is also, I mean, customer always ask, okay, I have an Azure backup, you know, and I also would love to runs as a standalone, and why wouldn't be an integrator with the ACC, Azure Center, because it is a centralized tool, right? So this is also kind of happen, right? So that integration is also there. Also with the new Azure backup feature, you know, also support for the HANA replication as well. What we have also as well, the Azure monitoring has the new features, and Azure monitoring has also as well a new availability in the new regions. We talk some session two weeks ago, I believe, for new stuff of the SDAF, SAP Deployment Automation Framework, with the Kimo and the Hammond as well. Definitely many bigger customers are using it. And it's very helpful. It's very helpful. Yeah. Just work here we have from Rio Tinto, and basically I was just helping them. They were recently they were modernizing, let's say, the existing SAP on Azure environment and also moving for some reason another tenant. So then you can use in such scenarios like SDAF as an example, cool. Yeah. Right? Which also, I mean, definitely helps, because there are a lot of best practices parts which you need to do. Yeah. So actually, this announcement in backup is also there. Sentinel as well. So improvements on the Sentinel. Well, I mean, during the time we will see more and more integration with Azure Center for SAP, of course, because it does make sense. It's just a centralized tool, right? API management is really amazing. It's really amazing, and this from Hiran Shah announcement is really targeted around the SAP Teched primarily here, and show us actually Microsoft commitment to the SAP workload on Azure, right? Yeah.
And actually, speaking of the commitment and the what we all do there, maybe that's a nice bridge also to SAP. ASAG Tech Connect. So I mean, as you said, SAP Teched was in Bangalore. So this was the only on-site Teched event this year, which means there was no SAP Teched in the US. There was no SAP Teched in Europe. But for example, in the US, ASAG, so the American-speaking user group, they had an event called ASAG Tech Connect, which just happened, last week, I guess, or somehow at the beginning of this week.
I think it was last week. Yeah, it was.
Was it last week? I'm just confused here by the date, but you're right. And what I wanted to highlight was that here's Geoff, the CEO of ASAG Tech Connect and or of ASAG, and you might remember we had him on the show, so we had a really cool discussion with him some time back. Then we have Jürgen Müller. Okay, he was not yet on our show, so maybe we have to invite him at some point in time. But what I want to highlight is Scott Guthrie was also there. Scott Guthrie is our CVP for Azure, for the whole Azure and AI topics, and he was there on stage together with Jürgen Müller and Geoff. And I think that was also a huge commitment or a huge statement that here really SAP and Microsoft were working really, really closely together. So I think that was also really cool to see.
And ASAG is the biggest SAP customer user group in the world, right?
Yes.
As well. So after this is the DSAG, the German one, right?
Yeah.
But this is all showing actually the Microsoft commitment. You know, the Scott Guthrie also was there on such an invite. So
yeah, that was really, really cool. And I mean, there was a lot of summarization, I would say, from SAP Teched. So I think I read somewhere that someone was saying, look, I learned all the news at SAP Teched Bangalore, but now at ASAG Tech Connect, I could connect with my peers and exchange ideas and learn what is real and what is not real and really network. So I think that was actually a nice thing. And one of the topics that ASAG also focused on was BTP. So there was an ASAG research paper for BTP, like how important is BTP, and there was one. Okay, I forgot to log in. Okay, now I cannot show you this, but basically there was one chart that talked about how well known BTP is in the market, and obviously there's a huge awareness of BTP with SAP customers, or more specifically with ASAG members. The adoption was like, I think 40%, if I remember it correctly. So basically almost every second customer from ASAG is already using ASAG. And then there were also some qualifying questions like, what are you using BTP for? And the leading answer there was integration. So I think this SAP integration suite was clearly number one. And then there were a few other things like for analytics, I think, was also very, very much on the top. So that was also quite interesting to read how ASAG then released some information on the SAP Business Technology Platform as well. This was one from Peter Spielvogel on UX topics, like about UI5 and SAP UI5 and stuff like that. What else did I have? Oh, and then I had also a summary from John Reed on Tech Connect. He attended their Tech Connect. He did his summary basically everything is AI. That was a clear statement from him when looking at Tech Connect. Interestingly enough, he completely ignored Microsoft. I mean, it is an SAP event, okay, but honestly, I thought, but maybe this is also just my very biased view, that Microsoft actually did play a role, a quite important role at ASAC Tech Connect. And you can see John even cut out Scott Guthrie. So he was just really focusing on Geoff and Jürgen.
Yeah.
But okay.
We'll
One
forgive.
thing. Yeah. I mean that's okay. It is obviously an SAP driven event,
Yes.
basically. But I mean, as you hear, for example, GPT-4 Turbo that was announced by OpenAI. Obviously, there is this collaboration with Microsoft, so this is an important topic. Then there was apparently a good session from Paul Mutterman and Helena I butcher her last name, but
yeah.
Paul was already here in our podcast as well already.
Okay.
So they also had apparently a very good session on the sub-skill apocalypse. So that there's a risk basically of outsourcing too much, especially the strategic work. So I think it was a really good session apparently. Now that I'm reading SAP Learning, and I know Robert wanted to join today, but I guess something came in between. But Robert also brought up that OpenSAP.com will disappear. I mean, obviously not related to Teched now or ASAC, but I was actually also a huge fan of open.sap.com, and Robert brought up that it's gonna end, and I think some of the content will live on in SAP Learning or in the SAP Learning Hub or whatever it's called. But I thought that was also quite interesting to read. Good. Moving on, maybe we already quickly talked about the OpenAI DevDay. So obviously this was the very first OpenAI event. So event from OpenAI, and it's a 1 hour session, a 1 hour keynote at least. Again, Satya Nadella was there, so that was great to see, which again shows this very close collaboration between OpenAI and Microsoft. They talked about leveraging the infrastructure on Azure, and then they also released quite a lot of news. Like there's a new LLM GPT-4 Turbo, which has much more context, so you can get much more tokens in there. They talked about other LLMs and scenarios, and they also highlighted something where you could build your own GPT, basically. I don't see it right now, but that was also a nice announcement, and they showed some really cool demos. Oh, there was also a demo with text to speech, where they really showed how they are generating now speech. So that was also really cool to see. Custom models, lower prices is always good.
Yes.
What else?
I mean, actually, when you think of, text to speech and convert to the text already exists as a technology, and also recognizing of the voice. So chat is you type something, but I was initially thinking it does make sense to integrate the voice as well, because the technology already exists. I think in a Mercedes they were showing joint, we were mentioning in the past, joint work with the Microsoft.
You're right.
To basically use, of course, in the car, the voice, you can't chat it, you're driving, right?
Yeah.
So actually to help you to navigate to the places where you have a restaurant or some gasoline is cheaper, something like this kind of. So it's nice to see it also kind of more formalize these additional features, right?
Yeah.
Of the OpenAI. Yeah.
That's really cool. And I think Microsoft already talked about or said that these new functionalities from OpenAI will obviously come to Azure OpenAI very quickly, and maybe that's then another nice transition to the last event that we want to talk about, Ignite. I mean, while we are recording this, Ignite is still going on. We just had the first keynote by Satya and a few others
where he
yesterday.
also talk about the SAP part as well and mentioned the MV3 as I remember. Well,
Yes,
one of the things.
and
But
actually,
not only one. Somehow the Copilot is also one of the dominating topic as well. Generally speaking, in different scenarios. And exactly in the book of news, if you search for the SAP, we are also kind of telling about the Copilot in Microsoft Viva Learning, and also basically, if you go a little bit, search, there. Allow user to create a structured learning connection, find the right resources, and summarize the learning using conventional AI within private preview for joint Viva and SAP SuccessFactors customer. I mean, the whole story about the SAP, it's basically of the Copilot, it's if you use a search engine, you put some keywords and that's it, it will throw some results. But with the Copilot, you can discuss it, you can ask a follow-up question, and this is a big help, in my opinion, like how you can install something SAP in Azure. Okay, in a Bing or Google, okay, you add the keywords, but then you can ask more, and it will know, and that's still definitely help. I mean, these kind of scenario definitely is a help in order to. I mean, here is about find the right learning resources, right? As an example, right? And definitely it's I would say a very advanced search use case and collaboration and support there.
Absolutely. And let me tell you another real life example that I just experienced. And I mean, Copilot was everywhere. And I think Satya even said Microsoft is a Copilot company or whatever, something like that. So Copilot is everywhere. And I think one area where this really started is GitHub Copilot. And
exactly.
We should have talked about GitHub Universe. I forgot to add some links there, because there I think Thomas Domke talked about over 1 million GitHub Copilot users in the meantime, tens of thousands of customers or organizations using GitHub Copilot. And honestly, for me, this is also something that I experience in my daily work now. Actually, for SAP Teched. So for SAP Teched, participants can download the presentations that were used by or that were presented in Teched. And the way you do this, you go to the session catalog and you click one by one. You go through each session and download the presentations. And I thought, well, there has to be a way how to write a small JavaScript to do this. And that's what I actually did. I wrote a Node.js script. And Goran, I'm not a super good developer anymore. And I just used GitHub Copilot, and it helped me to create this script. And it was so amazing how easy and fast it was to create a Node.js script that would connect and iterate through all the different sessions, download the presentation. It was really absolutely amazing. And that's super. GitHub Copilot empowering the developer. And I think that's exactly what we see now with the next step. So with Microsoft Copilot, that Microsoft Copilot, as you said, will dramatically help how we search in Bing or in Edge. We can already see how it helps here with this sales or Copilot for sales and services, for example. How it helps in the Power Platform. And when you create a new app, or when you create a new Power Automate flow that you can just write what you want and it does. Security Copilot is a huge thing also. And exactly like what you said before with the integration of Sentinel and SAP. Now, all of a sudden, the Security Copilot can also be used to protect your SAP systems there. So it's really absolutely amazing what is happening there.
I'm always amazed by the I mean, possibilities is just really mind-blowing. Sometimes when you don't expect, and then suddenly when it does something intelligent, like wow, which you don't need to program it, because when you program, you know it, what you're doing. You have to know, and here it's just pulls out of magically, brings the pieces together and do something really smart, which is amazing. Yeah.
It really is. It's absolutely amazing. And for me, the fascinating thing is that our Copilot, I mean, the Copilot is general available in the meantime. So it is a GA product. It's not like public preview or private preview. It is really general available. And with this, obviously, we are already working with partners. And again, also in the context of SAP, actually, to enhance this Copilot with SAP capabilities. And I think that was one thing that I wanted to highlight here. In this, we have the Microsoft 365 Dev Center, and now we have a dedicated area where we talk about how to extend and customize your Copilot for Microsoft 365. So how you can build your first plugin. And this can be obviously a plugin that connects to an SAP system, or how you use, a lot of customers are already using message extensions in Teams. How you can use these message extensions also for a plugin in Copilot, how you can create a new Copilot on your own. It's really, there's actually, here in this Copilot Studio, it's fairly easy to get started and create your own extensions. And actually, let me quickly go here, because I just also published something where I went over the keynote and I highlighted the topics where SAP was mentioned during the keynote, and I cannot again increase this, but you can see even in the during the keynote when we were talking about the extensibility of Copilots, we already showed how you can connect to an SAP system there. So I think that is for me another huge opportunity for customers, for partners to take our Copilot framework that allows you to get this AI in this assistant in Edge, in Teams, in Outlook, in Word, in Excel, and then enhance it with SAP functionalities. And I think we'll see. I mean, I am already working with a few partners, but I'm sure you'll see in the next few months, you'll see some really, really cool integrations of SAP into the Microsoft 365.
You remember
Copilot.
some sessions before we had this demo from our Microsoft colleague,
Yes.
how with the flights, SAP flights demo application, actually how it kind of, it's not just about connecting through the interface, through those integration of which exist, but actually you need the AI actually generated the ABAP code and use the knowledge of table of SAP and its description to figure it out.
Yes.
How to actually on the fly generate the ABAP code by itself. And that was for me like, okay,
absolutely
mind-blowing. Yeah,
Michael Merkel had done this demo, and I think basically what Michael did by hand basically is now almost available out of the box. So we're with this Copilot Studio, we guide you, we help you here, Microsoft Copilot Studio, we guide you and help you to create these kinds of integrations in an even easier way. And I think one thing Microsoft is very well known and respected for is the development tools. I mean, starting with Visual Studio, now Visual Studio Code. I think here the Microsoft Copilot Studio will go in a similar direction to really empower developers to very easily build their own Copilots and Copilot extensions and stuff like that.
Great,
good. I think we covered a lot of events. Obviously, we only scratched the surface, but I think you got an idea. We'll put all the links again in our show notes. Please feel free to spend more time on them. But yeah, Goran, I think that was it for today.
A lot of news around SAP and Microsoft and Azure, and it's really great momentum here to see all those kind of different pieces somehow coming together in an easy and smart way.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Super.
Okay. Cool. With this, that's it for this week. Next week we'll again have a dedicated topic talking about AI. So yeah, stay tuned and join us next week again. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.